Good evening. The time is now 7 o'clock. I will call the July 24th, 2018 meeting of the Millcreek Township Board of Supervisors to order. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item on our agenda is public comment on the Embrace Millcreek Comprehensive Plan. Anyone in the audience care to comment on the comprehensive plan? Hearing none, the next item is public comment on agenda items other than development or rezoning applications. Will any member of the public care to address the board regarding this evening's agenda? Hearing none, the next item is approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Yeah, I'll move to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is approval of the bills. Is there a motion to approve the bills?
Yeah, I'll move to pay those bills that are listed.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
And I vote yes. The next item is the second quarter financial report. Mr. Czechowski.
Thank you. All right. This is the financial report that I've been doing here for, I don't know, 6 quarters now. It's to try to help everybody keep informed as to where the township stands relative to the budget and to some extent year over year, because the budget's more relevant than the year over year, but sometimes those are still interesting questions. All right, the first couple graphs are, it's comparing revenues year over year. And this year we are running about $135,000 behind last year. And that is due to, the only one that might be somewhat problematic is the real estate transfer tax. That's running about $110,000 less than last year. And that's the amount that's based on sales of homes, businesses, any realty transfers in the township. Hopefully that will kick up here in the, it may have been slow because we had so much snow in the first quarter that it was really depressed year over year. But that's the one that could be more problematic. The other two, the LST is down about $14,000 and the EIT is down about $22,000. Those could be simply a transfer timing difference between the quarters year over year. And then the other item that's down year over year is the operating grants and contributions, and that should be made up fairly quickly. There's an amount due from the county for road salt for the winter. That was about $80,000. That had all been approved. Even at the PennDOT level, I just got to follow up as to why we haven't actually received the funds at this point. The budgets are relatively the same year over year in terms of composition. Year-to-date expenses follow pretty much so in line with last year. And they're also doing reasonably well in comparison to budget. When we go to general government, you can see that salaries are a little bit behind the budget, and that's because we paid out a couple of retirement payouts at the beginning of the year, but the budget's spread over the entire year, so that should get caught up by the end of the year. That's one that obviously we control the tightest. The health insurance for the general government's running favorably, about $93,000. The other benefits are a little bit behind, and that's also because of some timing differences over the course of the year. What I did with the other benefits, though, is in this particular presentation, is I took out the pension contribution until the third quarter because it distorts the entire analysis where you got the budget and we know we're not going to pay anything to the MMO until at least the third and fourth quarters. So let's see how we're truly doing relative to, because the MMO is set, there's no getting around that. And the legal expenses are running a little bit behind budgets, about $90,000. In terms of public safety, they're all running favorable to budget. Salaries are almost $500,000 favorable. Health insurance is about $337,000. The other benefits are $73,000 favorable. And the contributions to fire departments, those are paid quarterly, presuming that they send in their reports. They don't get no report, no money. So there's some, that will be affected by timing. In terms of the streets area, salaries are running favorably, about 281, 282. That's in part because we've been running fewer people than budget for part of the year until contract was settled. Also, overtime would be a factor in this one as well. We tend to have more of that in the winter months. The health insurance is a little bit tighter there. It's only about $14,000 to the good. The other benefits are $29,000 to the good. Snow removal expenses are finally getting caught up, and actually that would be better had we gotten the county aid, because we moved those expenses down and offset it with the county aid number. So that was $80,000. We're running 34 unfavorable. Parks and Recreation, everything there is favorable, about 80, and that in part is because their salary expense for all the part-time staffers is happening now, so that will get caught up and be pretty much so on budget for the third quarter. Health insurance is pretty tight there, about $5,000 favorable, and other benefits are about just under 12. Community services, recycling salaries are running favorable. The operating costs are also favorable, and the street laying expenses are favorable relative to budget. In terms of the capital plan, the original capital plan was $5,571,617. We have committed $3,412,526, leaving an uncommitted balance of $2,158, $158,691. Some of the projects, such as the bikeway, which was supposed to be grant-related, probably are not happening because there's no active grant for that. So that would be in the uncommitted balance. And there are some projects that will get finished up over the balance of the year. Questions?
Any questions from the board?
No. Thanks for the report.
Any questions from the public? Thank you, Mark. Next item on the agenda is amendments to the capital budget. Mr. Zuszewski.
Okay, we've got in two areas. The first one is we're going to lower the recycling grant. It shows as the $500,000 item. That was a combination of two grants. We're going to lower the first part of that grant to $390,000. I think I get the right page here. Sorry. Okay, we're going to lower the first 902 grant to $390,960, and that was the amount that was committed previously for the Winrow Turner. And we're going to create a new line item of $109,040 for the uncommitted balance of the 2018 902 grant for recycling from the DEP. The other amendments are in the Recreation Department area. And these are recognizing the changes that were made for, we're going to create three new line items. The first two, for $8,847, was for the irrigation pumps for the Millcreek Golf and Learning Center. The second item is $25,175 for the grow-in and materials for the grow-in at the Millcreek Golf and Learning Center, and reducing the MYAA grant money by an equal amount of $34,022. So we're going to, leaving a new balance on the MYAA grant or uncommitted Parks and Recreation capital budget of $13,978. The other item that's a new line item is the $3,200 for the pool cleaner for the Bow Valley Pool, and that is coming from the maintenance budget from the Parks and Rec Department. And that's the extent of the amendments.
And Mark, just to clarify, these are all actions the board had previously taken to authorize all those projects, all those fund shifts. This is a formal action to make sure the capital budget reflects those previously approved expenditures.
That is correct.
Any questions or comments from the board? Is there a motion to approve the amendments to the capital budget?
Yes, I'll move to approve those amendments as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is bids and quotations. First is consulting services for emergency culvert replacement for the Planning and Development Department. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. Good evening. It was discovered that the culvert on Conrad Road, just south of Brooksboro Drive, is experiencing a partial failure at the inlet end, and there's movement of the plate arch culvert on its concrete foundation. Township engineer Ann Sokol visited the site with the township's contracted structural engineering consultant, Mark Corey. They've reviewed the situation and decided that a replacement to that culvert would be needed as soon as possible. In the interim, Public Works Department through the streets has gone out there and done some work to shore up that issue. We are monitoring it on a regular basis. As of right now, it appears to be stable. A replacement will still be necessary, but it's our hope that we can potentially carry this repair over into next year and budget this item, the actual repair of the item, as a budgeted expense for 2019. What we're requesting today is a contract with engineer Mark Corey to do all of the engineering services required for this replacement. That would include a design, contract documents, and inspection. That is for a lump sum of $12,000. We would like to get this prepared just in case we can't continue to maintain it before next season, and we would have to do it as an emergency project this year.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Do we have a time frame that we want to get this done? I know we're talking about replacement next year, if we have to get to that. I mean, if we can stretch it out that long.
Correct.
But as far as Mr. Corey's engineering services, do we have something that we're requesting you get it done by a certain time?
Attorney Shaw recommended that we enter into a standard consultant agreement with
Okay.
engineer Corey, and then we can stipulate a time period in there.
Okay.
What time period would you recommend, Mr. Waldinger?
I would recommend a design by August 30th, design and contract documents.
Yeah. What I'm saying is just in case we have to act on this sooner, you know,
Yes.
we don't want to be waiting for engineering service. That's the reason for
No,
my question, Mark.
absolutely, I would
Matt,
agree.
I'm sorry, yeah. Okay,
So to have the actual design completed by August 30th?
Yes.
okay, that gives them just over a month then. Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Is there a motion to approve the authorization of an agreement with Mark Corey and Associates for the Conrad Road emergency culvert replacement for design work not to exceed $12,000 and to be completed by August 30th?
Yes, I'll move on that contract.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I would suggest that the motion be modified to authorize you to execute the final form agreement in accordance with our form professional services agreement.
Okay. Right, we recognize we don't have an agreement in front of us right now. It's authorizing the board to enter into agreement with Mark Corey.
Yep. Okay,
There's a motion by Mr. Groh.
yes, I will move, yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
Yes,
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is sales of used dump truck and salt spreaders. Public Works Department.
Gentlemen, some time ago, we advertised publicly for the sale of 3 trucks. They're 94 1994 white GMCs. Two of them have V-box salt spreaders on the rear of them, and one is just a dump truck. We received no interest in them at all until just recently. The Millcreek School District has shown some interest in one of the salt spreaders, and there's a gentleman by the name of Bear that is Mr. Bear that's looking at the other salt spreader and dump truck. I would like permission to, if these go through, to sell these 3 dump trucks. Since they were advertised, as long as we sell them for less than $2,000, we don't have to re-advertise them. So I would like permission to do that if the interest stays where it is.
I'm sorry, Mr. Snyder, I'm not seeing what the prices they're actually offering on the documents included. What is it?
It has to, well, it's less, they'll be less than $2,000 per truck. If we were over that, we have to re-advertise them. Quite frankly, they would have gone to auction, and we've gotten hardly anything for them. So
Mr. Snyder, I'm trying to specify you want us to authorize the sale of township equipment without specifying what the price of the equipment is going to be. 2,000.
it would be less than $2,000 per truck. I don't have a specific number.
They haven't offered an actual number on the purchase of the vehicles?
As far as I know, they haven't. Mr. Yatzer did not give me a number on that.
I think given that the amount is less than 2,000, the board can authorize a sale in an amount that's going to be less than that number.
Any other questions from the board? I have to be honest, I'm not sure what the motion is. We're approving a sale of township equipment without knowing what the sale price is. Is that what we're authorizing today?
Can this be held off till our next meeting?
Someone wants to make
Gary?
that motion, they're welcome to.
Gary, can we hold off till the next meeting, have more information? Thank you. I'm going to ask if we just table this action right now. I don't know if that requires a formal action, or if we can just table it till we can find out more information.
Is there a second to table?
I'll second the table.
Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is public hearing on subdivision plans. First is, and I apologize, I will probably mispronounce this, Zhao Xing Zhu, LIU, small subdivision plan. A small subdivision plan to show the creation of a 100-foot by 126-foot parcel A and a residue lot of .28 acres along the east line of Perkins Street, east of Lorry Lane in tract 346, index 723-010. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. At their July 3rd, 2018 regular meeting, the Millcreek Township Planning Commission recommended approval of this subdivision.
Any questions or comments from the board? Any comments from the Planning Commission, Mr. Waldinger?
No, there were no comments regarding this item.
Would anyone like to speak on this project or this subdivision? Would anyone like to address the board on this subdivision? Please come up to the podium and sign in and state your name and address, please, for the record.
My name is Kevin Farr with David Laird Associates, 1557 West 26th Street. I wasn't sure what you were asking, so I'm just saying that I'm here to answer any questions you might have for this subdivision.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
No.
Mr. Waldinger? Any other comments from the public regarding this small subdivision plan? All right, thank you, sir. Is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
Vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is Judy B. Yates, small subdivision plan. A small subdivision plan to show the creation of 2 identical lots of 60 by 120 feet located along the west line of Chelsea Avenue, south of West 12th Street in tract 111, index 151-059. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. At their July 3rd, 2018 regular meeting, the Planning Commission of Millcreek Township recommended approval of this subdivision with the following requirements. They were 2 minor drawing changes. It was to provide a corrected Millcreek Township index number that was mislabeled on the Mylar, and also to update the adjacent property owner information. There were some transfers in the interim since the plan was prepared. Since the planning commission meeting, the surveyor, Henry T. Vulcan Associates, has provided the township engineering office with a new copy of the Mylar with those drawing revisions.
Any questions from the board? Is there anyone present to represent the subdivision to the board?
Jim Welka, 3200 West 32nd Street, and I represent the Yates on this subdivision. Here to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, this was two lots of record, right?
That's correct.
Lots 371,
originally,
372.
And then they combined them into one tax parcel, and now
So now they're breaking them up again there.
breaking them up again for the sale of
Okay.
one of the lots.
I'm having a little trouble seeing the dimensions, but there's a garage in the back corner.
That's right.
Matt Waldinger, does that meet the setback requirements?
Yes, the garage is more than 10 feet from the residence, so it can be within 2 feet of the property line.
Okay. Okay,
I think the minimum distance I see listed here is 2.5, if I can read that.
Yeah, it's, you got better eyes than I
And varies
do.
up to 2.9 and then 3.3.
Okay, so in essence, lot 371 is a building lot then. We're back to the creation of a building lot then.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay. That's all I had there, thanks.
Any other questions? Any questions from the public regarding this subdivision plan? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, I'll move to approve the subdivision as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 2018-R30, a resolution pursuant to Resolution 2015-R20 in the Municipal Records Manual to approve a proposed disposition of certain township records. This is a routine resolution the board passes. At this meeting, the records that would be authorized to be disposed of would be Millcreek Township Police Department dash cam videos that reach their expiration dates between the dates of July 25th, 2018 and August 13th, 2018. Any questions or comments from the board? Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2018-R30?
Yeah, I'll move on that resolution.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 2018-R31, a resolution changing authorized signers on the dental account at PNC Bank. Mr. Zikrzewski.
Yes, BAI, Benefit Administrators Incorporated, administers our vision and dental benefits program, and their office manager, who is a signer on the account, is retiring, and so now we need to update the signature card to reflect the new operations manager, Christy Claxon, as an authorized signer on the account. They produce the checks, sign the checks, and that's how they administer the dental and vision benefits portion of the program.
Any questions from the board?
So nothing's changing other than a name of a person.
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
Otherwise, we'd have to bring them all here to sign, and
Yeah.
it'd be an administrative nightmare.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Mark. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2018-R31?
Yeah, I'll move on that.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is action on appeal of Griffith's decision. I don't know if Mr. Waldinger or Mr. Shaw wants to chime in, or if the board would like to discuss the matter.
Yeah, I'm not, Mark, are you?
I think this relates to the decision that was made in the Griffith case. I believe the attorney handling the matter for the township has recommended that the township file an appeal of that decision to the Commonwealth Court, and that's a matter that the Board of Supervisors have to approve to do so.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve filing an appeal of the Griffith decision?
Yes, I'll move on that action to file an appeal to the Griffith decision.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next on our agenda is communications. First is Township Treasurer Communications, signature card change request. Is this what we just voted on, Mark, or is it a different item?
We just did that one, but I've got one other thing here. And this sort of dovetails in with streets/garage/recycling. Apparently, we need a permit to move the machine that chops up all the brush from the recycling center to here. It's necessary to work on the piece of equipment here as opposed to there. In order to expedite getting permits in the future to do that, we need to register with PennDOT. And so you guys need to be authorized to sign the PennDOT agreement to do ongoing hauling permits. If they're the same as it was this time, it's $36.48 for a permit. But we got to, post a road bond, and so it's a process. There's like 2 or 3 different forms you've got to sign.
Any questions from the board?
No, I think we got to do it.
Is there a motion to submit the appropriate permits to PennDOT for the purpose of hauling the grinder to and from Millfair to the township garage?
Yeah, I'll move on that.
Is there a second?
I'll second public comment.
And this was not a agenda item. Is there any comments from the public or any questions from the public on the action we're taking? Hearing none. Is there a motion to approve we'll call for the vote. Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is new staff approvals, Human Resources Department.
I received a memo from Diane Lyons, our HR director, to hire the following 4 employees to be employed with the Streets Department. Michael Paul Kleiner, James Horn, and Brian Jenkins, and Joshua Sturgeon. All 4 of these were selected through the interview process. They come with excellent recommendations with their prior experience. They will start at the starting rate of $19.68 an hour as a Streets Department maintenance laborer. And I would put their hirings, the 4 of them, in the form of a motion.
Is there a second?
Just 1 second, I'm sorry. I noticed that a couple of these are to be retroactive to
Oh, yes, yes.
July 30.
Yes,
I think, let me see here.
Yeah, you are correct. I stand corrected on that. Yes, James Horn is retroactive to July 23rd. Give me a second here. And same with Michael Kleiner. And God, this computer.
I think that's it.
I think, yeah, that's probably it right there, yeah. Those 2 would be retroactive. The other 2 would be July 30th. They would be starting.
And Sturgeon's the 20th of August.
Oh, Sturgis is the 20th of August. I stand corrected on that, I'm sorry. Okay, so we have 2 of them starting yesterday, 1 starting next Monday, the 30th, and then 1 will be starting August the 20th.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any questions or comments from the board?
I think this brings up our complement to the full staff that we had before, based on retirements and resignations. Is that
We
right?
still have 1 to replace.
1 more to replace.
Transfer.
Okay. Okay.
All right, Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. We also have a dispatch new hire request from Ms. Lyons in HR. This would be Benjamin Steiner at a rate of $18.67, the contracted rate for a start date of July 27th, 2018. We also have an emergency management code enforcement new hire, Kaylin O'Leary, at a starting rate of $17.50 per the contract, the start date of August 9th, 2018. Any questions or comments from the board on that?
Oh, good hires.
Is there a motion to approve those hires?
Yeah, I'll move to approve both of those hirings.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grove?
Vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is Millcreek Golf and Learning Center report.
Yes, I got an update from Ashley Marsteller, our Parks Director. Just to remind people, and I see that we have people from the Times News in the audience, if you would. I'm not asking you to advertise for us, but just put a little blurb out there that the golf range is open here at the Millcreek Golf and Learning Center. Of course, there was a question before if we were going to be able to open it this year, if we were able to select somebody to operate the course. That hasn't been chosen yet, so we're going to operate the driving range, which we have been doing it since June the 20th. It is open 7 days a week. Of course, pending weather, the hours of operation are 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. With the last bucket of ball sales at 6:15. Buckets for sale inside the clubhouse. Small buckets are $5 and hold approximately 30 balls. Large buckets are 10 and hold about 60. So far this year, we've sold $595 worth of the golf balls for hitting out there at the practice range. So if people want a choice where to go for hitting golf balls, that's a good place to go right now. So try it out.
Thank you, Mr. Groh. Also, a training course travel request.
Yes, this is a follow-up to a prior authorization that the board allowed for me to attend, starting back in February. The DCED through the Pennsylvania Municipal Administration Training Center had a course for municipal administrators, which I signed up for. It was done in a webinar format. The course is done, but we do have a final session, a discussion session, and a graduation ceremony on this Tuesday, July 31st in Harrisburg. I would like to have permission to attend. We'll be traveling down the day before. Lodging costs are about $200, along with the use of a personal vehicle and a meal allowance for that. So I put that in the form of a motion, if I could do that. I would be leaving on the 30th and coming back on the evening of the 31st. So.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next time is the National Night Out,
Yes.
coming this Tuesday, August 7th, 2018. Mr. Groh?
Yes, and I would like to sadly announce a couple things here, but with a hope of optimism for next year. There was a belief that the Bell Valley Fire Department, which had been conducting this for the past several years, was going to be doing it again this year, and we found out at the end of June that they were not going to be holding the National Night Out. I stepped up to the plate on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, started appealing for grants and donations. They have come in, many of those, but we have a logistical problem as far as getting people to help us out with it. And quite honestly, the Bell Valley Fire Department did a great job in doing it. There's a lot of work that goes into it. We just can't throw something together in a matter of 30 days. It would not look good for our efforts. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold off until next year. I would highly urge any of the residents that would normally be going to National Night Out at the Bell Valley Fire Department, or were possibly thinking about where we were going to do ours, go to another one. If you don't want to do that, do something that night. Go out and do something. It is a National Night Out. Enjoy the summer. Summers are going fast, and sadly they will be getting colder at night there. So this might be a good opportunity to go out and then meet some people. You know what to do. We're all hopefully getting out there and doing those things, enjoying summer before it's over. So we're hopefully going to do something next year, but we're going to have a lot more planning in advance because we're going to know about it now. So I do apologize if there was information saying out there that we were going to do it, because believe me, our hearts were into doing it, but logistically it just is impossible this year. So that's what I have there.
Thank you, Mr. Groh.
Thank you.
Next item under communications, executive sessions. I want to report out to the public that the board did meet on July 10th and July 19th with our legal counsel and executive team to discuss various legal and personnel matters. Next item is Millcreek Police Department requests. Mr. Bach.
I have two requests here from Chief Scott Height. Approval for one officer to attend a techniques and survival training course being held at the Pennsylvania State Police Academy in Hershey, PA in October. Course registration, mileage and expenses, hotel, fuel and tolls totaling $1,507.75. And also a request for 3 officers to attend a supervisor training course being held in Franklin, PA, September 10th through the 14th, 2018. Course is sponsored by the PA State University Justice and Safety Institute in conjunction with the Northwest PA Chiefs of Police Association. Registration cost for 2 of the 3 officers is being paid by the Northwest PA Chiefs of Police. Total costs are $2,600 for that course. That's a week-long course. I'll put those in the form of a motion.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second on both of them.
Any questions from the board? Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Boggs?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next is Solicitor Communications. Anything this week, Mark?
No, nothing on my end.
That's good news. Anything else for the good of the order, gentlemen?
Yes, I do have one thing here. Didn't bring it up before there. Today, of course, we're saddened with the news of the passing of our state representative. Were you going to say something? I
No,
didn't want
feel
to
free.
take that,
No,
John.
no, feel
I'm
free.
sorry.
Go ahead.
State Representative Flo Fabrizio, as we know, passed away this morning after a valiant battle with cancer, and he will be missed. He represented part of Millcreek Township, the Bev Valley portion of it, and he did a great job as a leader in our community, looking out for everybody, looking especially out for the working man, and he will be missed. We offer our sympathy and prayers to his family and co-workers and everybody that knew him quite well.
All set. Mr. Groves, you also recognize our township employee who had an act of valor last month.
Yes, yes. And he's not much that really wants to talk a lot, but of course we know about the incident at the Walgreens drugstore there a few weeks ago where the young lady was slashed by the homeless person there. The person and his wife that rendered first aid to this young lady, the person that did that is an employee in our Parks Department, Mr. Tim Brooks. Him and his wife Nancy and another woman who I do not know, I can't remember her name. The 3 of them rendered aid to this young lady who was in a very dire straits there with her health, with the cuts that she had received. They all received an award from the mayor of the city of Erie last week for their efforts and saving a young lady's life. And our hats off here as township supervisors and fellow employees to Tim Brooks and his wife Nancy, and to the other young lady. I'm sorry, I cannot remember her name, but to all 3 of them. You just never know when the hero is going to be among you, and obviously we have them here. So just one thing. Thanks for reminding me about that one there, John.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, with that, move on to citizens to be heard. Anyone in the public care to address the board today? Yes, sir. Please step up to the podium and sign in and state your name and address for the record, please.
Randy Ross, 2540 Colonial Avenue. I have some questions. Late last year, you passed a noise ordinance,
Yes, sir.
and the solicitor mentioned about like construction projects could only go on so long, but I didn't see it end up in here anywhere. He said there'd be a limit on the time.
On the hours of operation, you mean?
Well, as far as how long it sounded like he was talking about like how many months or years or whatever it could just continue on. Is there any limit to,
I'm checking on that now.
So are you referring specifically to how long the noise can go on, or just the
project?
The-
The time, before they complete the,
is your concern the noise, or
well, yeah.
or the
that's
time
what
it's taking?
leading up to. I have a couple more questions, and I'll get to that, but that was the first question.
Yeah, under the ordinance, there's limitation from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. in zoning districts, in all the rural or all the residential zoning districts.
But there's no time limit as far as like any construction projects, how many years they can go on?
No.
Mr. Waldner, we
No.
don't have, do we have expiration dates on building permits for the township?
Yeah, I believe there are, but
Right.
they're fairly long. I mean, I think they're like a 5-year
So
from the time that you pull a permit till you have
Right.
to complete it.
Yeah, there's nothing in the noise ordinance that limits how long in terms of duration a construction project may go on. That only limits the number of hours during a day that you can be making noise.
Also, you have some definitions in here, like construction. All right, under these definitions, you have construction operation. Does that mean commercial? Would that also apply to a resident?
It applies to any building. So that would be either residential or commercial. And it says the...
Well, I mean, like say, just a neighbor, any equipment he uses, is that... I have a neighbor who he has a hobby of woodworking. Would you consider that construction?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I have a neighbor who has a hobby of woodworking. Would that fall under that? Because it's real annoying. He has a lot of different equipment he uses. Because I had the police out there the other night. I thought it would fall under this.
Sir, have you filed a complaint with the township regarding these issues?
With the township or the police?
Well,
I had the police out, but I don't know what you mean by filing a complaint with the township.
well, that's what I'm wondering. So you have filed a complaint with the township police for the noise ordinance?
Yeah, I had them come out, but they were telling me based on this, that they believe it like it would apply to like stereos or something like that, but not construction equipment. They're trying to tell me that his hobby is construction equipment, and so it wouldn't apply to that. That's how he's interpreted this law. If somebody has a hobby of using woodworking equipment, you wouldn't consider that a construction project, would you? Shouldn't that be covered under the noise ordinance?
Well, sir, I have to be honest. We're at, the board doesn't have noise ordinance in front of it right now. Probably a more productive conversation would be if you want to schedule a time to come in with a member of the board or Mr. Bach and the chief of police to discuss that and to clarify those issues. We can look into what the officer...
I can show you, because, see, I live in a mobile home park, and there's only like maybe 8 feet between my house. I have the only house. Everybody else has a mobile home. And he has all this equipment set out between my house and his mobile home, where it's like only a couple of feet away. It's right by my bedroom and living room. He has like half dozen different types of equipment he uses. One, he has air compressor where he hooks things up. Like one is like sounds like a jackhammer.
So you haven't called anybody here at the township formally, and I'd be happy to get your information
Well,
after.
I was in your office a week ago yesterday, and your receptionist, I gave her some information. She was going to pass it on to the three of you. You didn't get anything on that?
I don't recall.
No, I did not get anything.
Well, sir, if you want to leave your name and number with Mr. Bach right after the meeting, we'll follow up with you. And then you said do you know what date you filed the complaint and the officer came out?
Yeah, I've got the dates at home and the names of officers involved, because he had 2 dogs he left out barking nonstop, and I believe that family animal control and the officers have finally done something about that. But he's been he's really caused a lot of noise. And it just goes on 10, 12 hours where he's running this equipment. It sounds like a construction site, but it's a hobby. But if you want me to stop in, I can do that.
Well, like I said, if you wanted to stick around, follow up with Mr. Bach before you leave this evening, and
Yeah, if you want to stick around,
How late does this go on?
we're almost at the end.
Okay,
I
sure.
can get your information and I'll follow up with you.
Okay.
thank you. Would anyone else care to address the board? Good evening, sir.
My name is Roland Cicchini, and I live at 1130 Spring Valley Drive.
Sir, would you mind signing in as well before you leave the podium, please?
I
Would-
can
would-
hardly hear, so I don't know if I can really answer what you're...
Could you sign in?
Did I sign in?
Yeah, please.
Oh, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm here about a plaguing problem that I've had for a long time. And this all started when Beaver Run, which was a stream that was tubed in to solve some problems. And one of the big ones was Wilson School with a water system that they had to get rid of. Just so you have a relationship, I blew up a plan here, and as you can see, the house is over here. This all slopes down to where Beaver Run was, right here. Well, you put the tube in, and you raise the level of the ground about 3 feet. And in so doing, you created nowhere for the water from the rest of the lot that come down to disappear. You put one little tube here, which was about halfway up the run. And that had no slope, no angle to it. It just captured no water. So I had no drains that developed over here, and I constantly had water here. And with no place for it to go. Now, with that being the case, when the tube starts to fill up because of heavy rains, the level in the tube rises, and the drain that I put in is at the lowest point of the property that was selected by your engineering, which was right here. And when the water starts building up in the tube, water backs out. And on top of that, it has no place to go. So I constantly have water back there. Now, my solution is to have a French drain that needs being put in down here at the low point of the entire lot, and leading into this drain that's over here. But then on top of that, I need a pump to raise it to the level of the top of the tube. And that's what's needed to get rid of water. Now, the township approach to this, they essentially say the township does not come on private property to correct problems. That's been your answer for many, many years. My counter to that is original property had natural drain to the creek. No settling water was on the lot. Proper drains were not provided. The township never provided a remedy to right a wrong. Drainage does not exist. I need some help. And I've talked to all kinds of people here. Engineering, the supervisors, not all of you, but some of you. I need some help. It was not done in a fashion that permitted water to disappear once the tube was put in and no drainage. How do I approach this with you folks?
Mr. Walding, are you familiar with this issue?
I have not been on site, but yes, I've met with Mr. Chikini.
When was Beaver Run tubed?
To my recollection, it was before I started, it was sometime in the 80s.
Over 30 years ago?
At least, yes.
Any comments from the board?
Well, I think that the sentiment that Mr. Cicchini mentioned, that the township does not go on private property, I think that is correct. We do not. I don't know how this pipe got put in there, but I think the claim is that we did put it in, but that was under prior administrations. But
Sir, the township will not be proceeding with any action on that property.
Let me just give you an idea how serious it gets
Right.
at times.
Is that the worst it gets?
Pardon?
That's the worst that it gets?
No. You can see where the water is here, and that'll last anywhere from 2 to 4 or 5 days before it finally drains.
Well,
Last November 5th, there was such a rainfall that the water came all the way up to this point, and it covered over half of the lot. And that's because the tube's completely filled. And what drain does exist is at the lowest point, and therefore, water is backing off now. Now, I know that's a problem that probably can't be completely solved. But by the same token, it can be helped tremendously. And it has to have some I forget what they call them.
Backflow
preventer. Install a backwater valve, which will permit water to flow in one direction, and if it starts backing up, it cuts off. So there's several things that can be done, but it was all created by a situation when the tube was put in and no drains were created. And that's where we need help. Now, this isn't that dramatic, but it needs some help to lift the water to the level of the top of the tube for it to get in. So, I didn't expect to get an answer tonight, but I sure hope to get an answer of some sort when
Oops.
all the logic is presented.
Well, sir,
And what engineering changes have to be made.
Sir, I understand your concern regarding the project. The board
Yeah.
has been aware. We have discussed it. We have discussed it with our plan development team, and there is no intention from the township to make an improvement on your property. That they will not be authorized. We have no intention of making an improvement.
Well, I'm sorry of my deficiency. I wear 2 hearing aids, and I don't hear very well, but I'll try to get the information from one of you separately from this meeting.
Sure, please stick around. We can talk to you about it.
And anything you need from me, I will be glad to provide. Stop up to the site anytime you want, just so I know that I'll be home. But you'll see for yourself what has been created. And I have to cut my lawn sparingly. When it's all wet, you can't cut it. So give us some thought, and if you need pictures, you'll see it, and we can discuss it a little bit further. But I'd like to see it done before the winter comes in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Roland.
Any other comments from the public this evening? If there's no other business, gentlemen, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
I'll move at 7:56 PM.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Have a good night, everybody.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.